Democrats are meeting today to discuss their future in the aftermath of an election that reduced the party to a steaming pile of scrap metal and tears. A study group, which includes every Democrat who still holds elective office, will gather in the Children's Party section of the McDonald's on Route 90 outside Watertown, Massachusetts, and will pool their remaining Wall Street donations to buy enough Happy Meals so that every two elected officials can split one between them. The Democrats plan to discuss how to continue as a political party when virtually every tenet of their philosophy has been rejected by the American electorate. Some of the suggestions that are on the agenda include a plan to bring together every Democratic governor who has a Democratic legislature in his state to form a barbershop quartet, which would still leave one governor to pass the hat after the show. The quartet could raise money for future elections by singing such classic fan favorites as Lida Rose, as well as catchy new songs like "We Swear We'll Tax Your Neighbor and Give You All His Money, but Please Don't Vote Us Out of a Job," Sweet Adeline. There's also a plan on the table to organize the 190 remaining Democratic congressmen into a smallish soccer league. This would be a fun way to continue imitating Europeans without all that socialism stuff that no one likes. Also, if the congressmen aren't allowed to use their hands, the interns will feel safer. Another suggestion for the Democrats' future is to build a towering stone obelisk to celebrate the Obama administration, with Obama actually inside the obelisk so he can't escape and do any more damage to the party. There's also an idea being floated to take the remaining political power of the party and use it to run a miniature train set or one of those cool electronic cars that you can guide by remote control, although that might also require some D-batteries. But the big question facing the Democrats is how to sell their ideas to an electorate that has already had 8 years of them. In a recent poll, voters were asked whether they'd prefer more Democrat policies or to have a piece of rebar threaded into the smallest orifice of their bodies and then woven through their internal organs until it emerged from their eyeballs. 82% responded, "It depends on what rebar is and how big." Among those offering suggestions for a way forward will be former Senate Majority Leader Harry Reid. Reid can't attend the meeting personally because he suffered an injury after his chest expander snapped and struck him in the eye, then swung around and hit him on the back of the head, then kicked his legs out from under him and sat on top of him and pounded him in the face until he learned to keep his creepy hands to himself. But Reid did issue a statement saying, quote, "The Democrat Party can continue to win the hearts of Americans by lying about our intentions, demonizing our opponents, and screwing poor people while cozying up to the rich and ripping off the middle class," unquote. So basically, it's Democrat business as usual. Trigger warning, I'm Andrew Klavan, and this is The Andrew Klavan Show.
I feel hunky-dunky, life is tickety-boo. Birds are winging, also singing hunky-dunky-doo. Ship-shape, tipsy-topsy, the world is zippity-zing. It's a wonderful day, hurrah, hooray! It makes me want to sing. Oh, hurrah, hooray! Oh, hooray, hurrah!
Hooray, it's the mailbag is tomorrow. If you have not subscribed, you cannot be in the mailbag. And if you have subscribed for a lousy $8 a month, I mean, come on. If you've subscribed, you can send your questions in. What do they send? Is there a way to send? Is there a button or something that they press to send? On the left side of the site, there's a button. You can send in your questions. All answers are guaranteed 100% correct and 97.8% likely to change your life for the better. So yeah, write in anything you want about the arts, about politics, about your personal life, and we will answer them all with perfect accuracy. It's amazing. It's an amazing system. We've been having some problems with the Facebook feed. We're sorry about that. We hope they're not censoring us, because then we might get angry and elect Donald Trump president or something, you know. So we wouldn't want that to happen, would we, you know? This is why we can't have nice presidents. Actually, we don't think they are censoring us. We think they're just getting up this new Facebook Live system, and we're kind of overwhelming it, but we're sorry. We are working on it and hoping to get it fixed. So there are certain things on the show, before I get started on the news, there are certain things that I say on the show and in my personal life that people don't like. And some of them, they're things like this. When I tell people that anger is the devil's cocaine, and they should not play to their anger because it makes them feel righteous, and they're not righteous. People get annoyed when I say things like that because they say, no, my anger is a righteous anger, and I am righteous. Anger supplies a sense of virtue to the right in the same way victimhood supplies a sense of virtue to the left. And since we don't really have any virtue, that's the whole secret of life. That's the big secret. We don't really have any virtue. I always think it's self-deluding to be angry, and people don't like it when you tell them not to play to their anger because it takes that sense of virtue away. Same thing during this election. I kept telling people, reminding people on the air and in my personal life, you don't really know the future. And if ever an election was going to go differently, I kept saying this over and over again, if ever an election was going to go differently than people said it was, this was the one. 2016 was the one. Not one person has come up to me and said, wow, thank you for imparting that wisdom. In the next time, I won't be so certain about what the future will bring. And the reason is people predict the future to overcome a sense of powerlessness and a sense of suspense, which is painful. So they don't like you telling them that they can't predict the future because that's the very thing they're trying to avoid knowing, right? So let me just say yet one more thing that people are not going to like. American political discussions are rife with womanish hysteria. All right. And when I say womanish, I mean as opposed to feminine. Feminine, when I think of the word feminine, I think of grace, tenderness, kindness, wisdom, all the things that go along with femininity. But womanish, I just think this self-dramatizing, self-important hysteria about minor issues, okay? And the reason people do this, I think, is because it gives them a sense of importance, self-importance, and power. If we're fighting evil, if we're not just fighting some clown making a stupid policy mistake, then we're important. It's important. And this is why I don't use the word evil. Like I've written several times that I don't think Obama is evil. I have opposed virtually everything Obama has done. I don't really like him personally. I'm not part of that 58% or whatever it is that say they like him personally, even if they disagree with him. I don't like him personally. I think he's an arrogant fop and an anti-American and self-deluded and a narcissist, but I don't think he's evil. And people keep saying, no, he's evil. There are governments in this country where the police will kick down your door, rape your wife, kill your children, throw you in a pit so deep no one will ever see you again. That's what evil looks like, Happy Pants. It doesn't look like Obamacare. It doesn't look like some guy passing a bad bill. So I'm just trying to look at this moment in time before the new president comes into office without hysteria, without self-importance. And that's what we're going to try to do today. But first, we have to look at Obama himself because he is one of the funniest. I can never tell with him whether he's self-deluded or working hard to delude the rest of us or if there's a difference. I think maybe the two blend together, that he's such a narcissist that he can't admit that things have gone terribly wrong for his administration. His administration is basically, thank you for your administration, now let us sweep it out the door. And yesterday, he gives this press conference. It's hilarious. He's talking about the transition. Play number 2.
My team stands ready to accelerate in the next steps that are required to ensure a smooth transition. And we are going to be staying in touch as we travel. I remember what it was like when I came in 8 years ago. It is a big challenge. This office is bigger than any one person, and that's why ensuring a smooth transition is so important. It's not something that the Constitution explicitly requires, but it is one of those norms that are vital to a functioning democracy, similar to norms of civility and tolerance and a commitment to reason and facts and analysis. It's part of what makes this country work. And as long as I'm president, we are going to uphold those norms and cherish and uphold those ideals.
You mean for the last 5 minutes of your presidency, now that you've been completely rebuked? This is a guy whose compared his opponents to terrorists. He has just trolled the left. He has been, the inside story is that he has never negotiated, never once negotiated. He has come to agreements with Congress and then backed away on them. He has never given in to anything. He crammed Obamacare. Remember, there was no Republican votes. There's never been a bill. Well, maybe that's not true. There probably was a bill during the Civil War that had only one party in support of it. But this had been no bipartisan support. And suddenly, what he's doing is he's pretending to be the president the press has always pretended him to be. He's pretending suddenly that he is the keeper of our ideals of civility. I mean, this arrogant guy who has done nothing. Remember, we're clinging to our Bibles and we're clinging to our religion. He has given no quarter to his opponents. So now he talks about suddenly, and he is also, at the same time, he may be, on the one hand, he may be deceiving himself, but he's also playing Donald Trump. He is trying to manipulate Donald Trump, because he knows that if you like Trump, if you're nice to Trump, Trump will like you. As you know, Trump said of Putin, Putin says, I'm a genius, so now I like Putin. Here he is talking about reaching out, okay, about reaching across the aisle, how he's going to explain this to Donald Trump.
What I also discussed was the fact that I had been encouraged by his statements on election night about the need for unity and his interest in being the president for all people, and that how he staffs, the first steps he takes, the first impressions he makes, the reset that can happen after an election, all those things are important and should be thought about. And I think it's important to give him the room and the space to do that. It takes time to put that together. But I emphasized to him that, look, in an election like this that was so hotly contested and so divided, gestures matter, and how he reaches out to groups that he signals his interest in their issues or concerns. I think those are the kinds of things that can set a tone that will help move things forward once he's actually taken office.
You know what I love about this? Let me just remind you, this is the president who, after the Supreme Court ruled that gay marriage was written into the Constitution, that Jefferson and Madison wrote gay marriage. They said, we must have homosexuals must be allowed to marry. That was what they were talking about. After the Supreme Court decided that was in the Constitution. Now, this was whatever you feel about this, no matter how you feel, what side you take about this, it was a hard-fought, divisive issue between people that touched their religious convictions, their deepest convictions. This is the president who bathed the White House in a rainbow flag, telling 50% of the country that was no longer their house, that in order to be loving, in order to be an official good person, you had to agree with this, and the president was telling you to get stuffed if you didn't. And this was a president who like 2 years before, had himself not agreed or pretended not to agree with gay marriage. So this is one of them. You know what he reminds me of? He walks into this, he's talking as if he had nothing to do with this divided nation. He talks like Laertes in Hamlet. Remember at the end of Hamlet, everybody's lying dead on the stage. Every character's lying dead on the stage, and Laertes comes back from the war and he's like, "What? Wait, what happened? Everybody's dead." It's like Obama hasn't been here for 8 years. What happened? Everybody's yelling at one another. It's like, why is everyone so divided? I hope Donald Trump won't contribute to that. Give me a break. Give me a break. Did you just land on this planet? It's ridiculous. It is absolutely ridiculous. And the press is begging him to attack, for instance, to attack the appointment of Steve Bannon as Trump's chief strategist. This has been we'll go into this in a minute. But Obama won't even touch it. Obama says, he's not going to talk about it. He says, do I have concerns? Yes, I have concerns. Let's listen to this.
The people have spoken. Donald Trump will be the next president, the 45th president of the United States. And it will be up to him to set up a team that he thinks will serve him well and reflect his policies. And those who didn't vote for him have to recognize that that's how democracy works. That's how this system operates. When I won, there were a number of people who didn't like me and didn't like what I stood for. And I think that whenever you've got an incoming president of the other side, particularly in a bitter election like this, it takes a while for people to reconcile themselves with that new reality. Hopefully it's a reminder that elections matter and voting counts. And so I don't know how many times we have to relearn this lesson, because we ended up having 43% of the country not voting who were eligible to vote, but it makes a difference.
And by the way, in case you're falling for any of this, meanwhile, his team is slipping source material to the press saying, oh, we really have to hold Trump's hand. They don't know what they're doing. The Wall Street Journal had a story yesterday. Oh, Trump, we had to explain to Trump that he has to hire staff before he takes office. As if, really. I mean, this is garbage. The fact that the Wall Street Journal reported this, it just shows how well they're being conned by these people. They're very condescending and all this stuff. Just absolutely ridiculous. Krauthammer said, I think, the best thing. Actually, before I get to that, I'm going to have to say goodbye to people on Facebook. If you're on Facebook, have we actually had? Yay! Hooray! So we say goodbye to you on Facebook. Come on over to the Daily Wire and hear the rest, and subscribe so you can be part of tomorrow's mailbag. Send in your questions to the mailbag.